And we are back. We are looking into figuring out whether to use sine, cosine, or tangent in right triangle trigonometry. So you can see we have a right triangle here. We're given an angle, 34 degrees, and we're given a side, 11, and we want to find this other side, v. Okay? Now if you remember, we learned that tangent, we started with tangent, and we learned that tangent is the slope ratio, right? So it is the slope of the line, whoops, not ratio. It is the slope of the line with this many degrees. So it's up v over 11, or over 11 up v. So that means that the tangent of this, the tangent of 34 degrees, is the rise over the run, the up over the right, the v over the 11 in this case. Okay? So one way to think of it is that tangent doesn't have to do with the longest side. It doesn't have to do with the hypotenuse. And the hypotenuse is the side that is opposite the right triangle. Okay? So the tangent is just the two legs of the right triangle, not the hypotenuse. And it's always the opposite of the angle over the adjacent of the angle. Okay? Another way to think of it is a mnemonic word, a mnemonic device that you may have learned about, putting all three of these together, sine, cosine, and tangent. And the way that we remember that is so, ka, toa. Okay? Because whenever we have this angle, we can figure out what we have and what we want, ignoring that third side. We don't care about the hypotenuse for here. We care about the opposite from here. This is the opposite, and this is the adjacent. Okay? Opposite and adjacent. So you can see that opposite and adjacent is tangent. So that's how I know that tangent is opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. Tangent of 34 degrees equals the opposite over the adjacent. Okay? So now that we've done that, we should be able to do the rest of them pretty easily. So here, we want P, we have 7, and we have 29 degrees. Go ahead and pause and see if you can figure out how to do this one. Maybe using SOHCAHTOA, how to just set it up. Okay, so looking from this angle, notice that this is the opposite. Okay, again, the opposite is the side that is not touching this angle. And this is the hypotenuse. And we know it's the hypotenuse because it's the side that is not touching the right angle. It's also the longest side. So which one of these has opposite and hypotenuse? Go ahead and pause and see if you can figure that out. Yeah, opposite and hypotenuse is sine. So that means that sine of 29 degrees equals the opposite, P in this case, over the hypotenuse, 7. Okay? Now, if to solve these equations, I'm not going to solve them in this video, but you can look up how to solve these in my Solving Proportions video, which I'll link to in the description. Okay? Let's try another one, just setting it up here. Okay, so for this one, go ahead and pause, see if you can figure out how to set up the equation for this using SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so from this angle, 64 degrees, this side again is the opposite, and this side is again the hypotenuse. So, tried to trick you there. We're going to use the same thing. It's opposite over hypotenuse. Sine of 64 degrees equals opposite 13 over hypotenuse, y. Okay? Let's try one more. See if you can figure out how to set up a trigonometric equation, using this. And I covered up SOHCAHTOA. You remember how to spell it? Yeah, so it's SOHCAHTOA, like that. Set up your equation. Okay, so we know from here, this angle here, we have the hypotenuse, and we have the adjacent. Okay, which one of these is hypotenuse and adjacent? Okay, It's cosine. And again, I said we have the adjacent. It's not that we have the adjacent, we want the adjacent. We care about the adjacent. The thing that we don't care about is the opposite. The opposite, we don't even care. So we know that if it has an O here, we don't want to use that one. We want to use, in this case, cosine. Cosine of 71 degrees, in this case, is going to be adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is z, over hypotenuse is 3. So that's the equation for this one. I hope that was helpful in setting up trig equations using right triangle trigonometry. We'll see you next time.